Wow, okay, so a bunch of stuff went down with that live stream for Final Fantasy 15, way more than I thought was going to happen. I think most of us thought they were going to do this live stream, and then we would get more DLC. On top of the DLC that they're already probably going to be showing off, they actually went the complete opposite direction with it. They actually canceled 3 of the 4 planned DLCs. They took Comrades and broke that off into its own standalone game. And then we find out that Hajime Tabata is actually departing Square Enix and Luminous Productions, the studio that was formed for him to head as the COO and kind of, I guess, work on something big and new. And who really knows what they're doing now? As far as we knew, they were working on some of the DLC that's coming up. And at this point, after this live stream, we found out that of the 4 DLCs, 3 were canceled. The Arden DLC is still coming next year, March 2019. But this was a pretty big shock. I mean, seriously, it just out of nowhere, we find out that Tabata actually left at the end of October 31st. He put out an entire departure message saying that he wanted to hand the reins off to a younger generation that was going to start working on the different DLC that they had there, and then I guess some large projects. See, earlier in the day, we found out from Square Enix that they had lost a tremendous amount of money due to this Luminous Productions setup. And it's very weird to hear about this, but they lost $33 million. According to them, there was some restructuring that took place, and they are now moving towards a big budget, like a AAA game as they are saying it, in that direction. And we don't really know much about what it is. We do know that Tabata wanted to work on a new IP, but it's very possible that Luminous Productions could be working on something like Final Fantasy 16 right now, as that is a safer bet. Obviously, Final Fantasy carries way more weight with fans than a brand new IP that would probably still be exciting, especially with Tabata and his own crew kind of working on it, but it still doesn't have Final Fantasy in the name. And it's hard to say what was happening in the background here, but you don't just lose $33 million out of nowhere for no reason. It's very, very odd, and I think more and more information will come out about this as people investigate and try to figure out what happened in the background, but it is a very sad thing to see because obviously there are a lot of people in that live stream on the chat. You could even see that we're freaking out, that we're like, they're canceling all the DLC. I thought we were going to get more DLC. It looks like they're moving away from that. In fact, that could have actually been what some of that loss that was reported was about, as we didn't find out about these canceled DLCs until now, and we found out about the $33 million loss earlier in the day. It's possible they were basically writing that off, just taking it and saying, you know what, we're not working on this anymore. We'll take the loss on all the stuff we worked on for it and everything, and kind of write it off and figure out how to make that look like we're losing a ton of money, when maybe they're not losing as much liquid cash as they are just assets and everything in general and projects that they were counting on to bring money in. So now it's interesting to see where they'll go with Luminous Productions and I guess what they're going to work on. This big budget game probably won't be ready until next generation anyway, if it is going to be that massive and it is a Final Fantasy 16. And then you also have to step back and look at what is Tabata doing? What is he going to do? You know, where's he going to go? See, he's had experience with a lot of games. I mean, he's been there for a while now. He worked on Crisis Core, one of my favorite games on the PSP. And he's had some pretty good experience with other portable games like Third Birthday, for example. It's interesting to think where he could be going. In his departure letter, he did mention doing his own business, I guess, to work on a new project. So he could be doing his own thing. Maybe he goes to one of the bigger companies, the big three, whether it's Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony, and maybe they help fund his project. Who knows there? Maybe he has publishers or some other big studio that might want to pick him up and, you know, fund his project. Similar to what happened with Kojima when he left from Konami. Obviously, Sony comes in and works with him, and, well, here comes Death Stranding, right? Maybe you could see something like that. I would be interested to see what Tabata could do with his own ideas, with the backing and funding and everything, to see what he could do. He's worked on cell phones. He's worked on, portable units like the PSP. He's worked on the systems of Final Fantasy 15. He was brought in to finish Final Fantasy 15 because Nomura it was just taking too long. So he comes in and he gets that thing done and out. And whether you liked Final Fantasy 15 or not, it was a pretty big game, a pretty serious game. And again, it was in development forever as Final Fantasy 13 Versus and everything. He comes in and he gets it done. So the one thing to take away from this is it seems like they are pretty much finishing up with Final Fantasy 15. So if you're one of those people who were like, I don't want any more DLC, oh, there you go. It looks like they're getting rid of it. They're pretty much finishing it up. I guess March 2019 with that DLC coming out will probably mark the end, I guess, of them working with Final Fantasy 15, and they're going to move on to this new big AAA budget game that they're going to be doing in that studio, which means we probably won't hear from that studio for a while, although Square likes to tell us about stuff very, very early. Final Fantasy 7 Remake, for example, is, who knows that? So maybe we'll hear about it next year, I don't know. But it's definitely a shocking thing to see. It all hit all at once. Massive financial losses, tons of DLC canceled, Hajime Tabata out. So where do they go from here? Well, it's hard to say, but it's sad to see. It's very interesting all at the same time. And it really does play on the fact that Square Enix, they're a very mismanaged company. They're not really doing a lot to prove otherwise. So let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments. I'm very curious. Make sure you guys give this video a like if you liked it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you guys in the next video.